unlocking your world of creativity with best-selling author and brand innovator, Mark Stinson. This episode is brought to you by White Cloud Coffee Roasters, nestled in the heart of Idaho's mountain wilderness, where every bean tells a story of adventure. Discover the difference in their premium beans, meticulously roasted to capture the essence of the mountains. Now, listeners of our podcast can get an exclusive 10% discount. Just use the promo code CREATIVITY at checkout. Visit whitecloudcoffee.com and use the code CREATIVITY.
Welcome back, friends, to our podcast, Your World of Creativity, the podcast where we talk to creative practitioners of all kinds. We talk with authors, singer-songwriters, inventors, restaurateurs that are making a difference in the world. We've been on this virtual global tour for almost 5 years now. Stops in places like South Africa, Australia, and Italy, around the States in New York and Miami, learning from all the best creatives. And today I'm thrilled to have with me Kerri Hummingbird, a medicine woman, mother, and mentor who's touched the lives of many people with her wisdom and inspiring work. Kerri, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on. I love this creativity theme because I'm an artist as well as a writer and a medicine person, which is all about creating your life to be your own creation. So very
That's right.
exciting.
So much creativity. Kerri is the founder of Inner Medicine Training that shares a lot of ancient wisdom from the Andes and Himalayas. I can't wait to get into that. She's the author of an international best-selling book called Inner Medicine, Becoming One with Mother Earth for the Survival of Humanity. That's a bold title and need and promise, Kerri. Talk to us about...
It's like one of those statements.
It's large. But a lot of inner medicine, really, when we talk about the inner part, mental health challenges, so much concern in our world these days about depression, anxiety, which seems to be impacting us globally. Explain some of these issues of the inner wisdom that we need to understand.
Yeah, so I can relate to anybody who's been doing the medication to feel better, the pills that pharmaceutical offers us, and the psychotherapy, the weekly psychotherapy that most of us know as the solution to solving your problems. And I did that for 20 years, so I was very dedicated to this solution. But it didn't really bring me what I needed in terms of transforming my life. It gave me a lot of opportunity to share my voice and to speak out what I needed to speak, and there's a great value to that. But what I found when I said, okay, I did this for 20 years, I didn't get the results I wanted, so I'm going to try something new. I'm going to leave that behind and go see what else there is. And then I found this path of becoming a medicine person, being the artist of my spirit is what Toltec means. Toltec is one of my first lineages I studied with. It means to be the artist of your spirit. And if anybody's ever seen The Four Agreements, that book is by Don Miguel Ruiz. He's my teacher's teacher. And so that medicine path got me really curious. I'm an artist, right? I was like, what do you mean I could be the artist of my whole life? What? I have choice? That just opened up something. It gave me something new. And so when we practice these somewhat ancient mastery tools in the modern day, what we find is we start to see life in a completely different lens. Instead of being like the victim, like things are happening to me and I don't like all these things that are happening to me. I want it to stop. How can I just not feel this pain? It becomes, oh, this is for me. This is growing me. This is making me more resilient. This is giving me more wisdom. This is giving me inner medicine. And so we change the focus from stopping the outside world into how can I become the best me no matter what's going on out there? How can this help me to become who I always knew I could be? That's the focus. And when that changes, we don't need the pills anymore because we no longer think we're broken. We no longer think we need to be fixed. We're ready to step into understanding why this part of the journey is the way it is. What do we need to learn from it, embrace from it, become through it to step into our true self? And that's way more alluring and exciting than going every single week and kind of sad about the way things are, right?
Right. And the sadness,
approach.
you introduced this idea of disconnection, that we sometimes feel lost or disconnected. And that inner wisdom The intuition is what we need to listen for. And you've given us a broad brush there. Are there some practical steps that you found, or you cultivated to listen in better to that wisdom?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the first tools that I was given was how to open sacred space. First of all, I didn't know that there was a difference. There's a sacred space and then there's not a sacred space. Yeah, I don't understand this. But when I started practicing this indigenous practice of calling on the four directions, calling on the south, the west, the north, the east, calling on the earth below, the stars and the moon above, and the ancestors and the guides, calling forth all of this medicine for me, it changes the way life shows up. It's the first thing I offer people. In every single book, there's an invocation, how to open sacred space. It's like a template. And then, of course, eventually you come from your own heart and you speak words from your heart because you're building a relationship with the foundational archetypal energies that create this reality that we live in. You're building a relationship with these energies that support you in opening up like incredible synchronistic, mystical experiences, even just things that the thing you say, you just can't make this up. Like that stuff happens
Mhm.
every week for my students. They just come in and say, you just can't make this up. You just can't make this up. I'm like, no, but at some level, your soul is making all this up. And that's what's fun is you get into this partnership, this dance with your higher power that just opens up such an adventure in your regular life. You could be right at home having a total adventure with your soul.
Mhm.
So it's from the inside, but it's reflecting on the outside. So it's opening sacred space is the first practical step. And when people first get started, sometimes they feel awkward. They're like, I'm saying these words, but I don't really know what it means and I don't really feel connected. But over time, the connection grows, the relationship grows the more you do it. And it's just this fantastical experience. And now that my whole community does it, we all are opening sacred space and we do it when we have class and we do it every day. It's like magnified because we're all doing it together. So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
really cool.
I love that you described them in not only practical steps, but these templates that we can apply. Now, Inner Wisdom is the latest in a series of a lot of books that you've been able to write. And I just wanted to explore a little bit about your creative process. How do you go about capturing and organizing and putting these ideas in print?
Yeah, absolutely. Usually it's a soul inspired directive. And so and I say directive because it's the choiceless choice. You know you're going to write that book. So
That's right. So get
the
on
message
with it.
the message comes in, you're like, oh, I'm writing that? Okay. So all the books have come in that way. Starting with the first one was Awakening to Me. So if anyone's interested in my before journey, the person I was before I started this whole journey, that's that first book, Awakening to Me. And it started with Spirit just telling me, you're going to write a book. It's called Awakening to Me. And then you're going to just be honest every single day. And you're going to write what's up for you. And you're going to write what happens, how spirit interacts with you, the messages you get. You're just going to be transparent. And most of my books end up being that way. Even when I wrote the second wave book, that was the next book I wrote. I was more of a channeling. So that was a little bit different in the sense that I just all of a sudden knew I was going to write this book, The Second Wave, Transcending the Human Drama. I didn't know anything about the second wave. I was like, what's that? I don't even know what it is. And I'm going to write a book about it. But it was that listening. And I would actually even close my eyes, hear the messages in not in an auditory way, but in just in an internal knowing way. That's the message that's coming in. I would type on my keyboard with my eyes closed. And I would then periodically look and see what gobbledygook I had just written and make sure that it matched what I had heard. And then I actually went through with my pendulum, if nobody knows what a pendulum is. And I was like, did that correct? And I would test like every single paragraph to make sure I heard it right. That book was different. That book was based on this really deep listening. But all the other ones have been, you're going to write about this and you're going to be transparent and honest. So
Very
it just
good.
happened as life happens, right?
Yes. Let's give listeners a taste of your style and your writing. I'd love if you would to read an excerpt from the book.
Yeah. And so the book we agreed to talk about today was Inner Medicine. This is my pretty purple cover with Mother Earth on there. And the first section is A New Way of Living. For centuries, we have been living according to a map of externalized power and resource. In this map, everything we need lies outside of ourselves. We are separate from God's source creator and alone and empty. And to cope with the pain of this separation, we fill ourselves with the external to satiate our cravings. The paradigms of colonization, westward expansion, and global corporatization are all driven by a deep insatiable hunger that seeks to fill itself by acquisition of external resources. Life happens to us, and we feel powerless to do anything more than react to its undulating rhythms that change our lives as soon as we figure out how to get ourselves what we need and want. We control the chaos by living as predictably as possible, opting for the known brand over the mom-and-pop family business that has local flavor and character. We never want to feel our hunger, so we choose the predictable path for getting our needs met, and we eliminate the wild cards that would surely bring down the house or lead to fulfillment beyond imagination. The things that lead to chaos are prohibited, especially questions. Questions lead to more questions, and more questions lead to more questions, and there's no turning back once you start asking them. Questions expose as fraudulent the safe, predictable, and mundane existence where you can comfortably sleep your way through the life that your ancestors carved out for you with blood, sweat, and tears. We are taught to be afraid of questions, to fear anything outside the physical reality that we cannot touch, taste, smell, hear, or see. As such, we are confined to one dimension of ourselves, the literal and the physical. By the way, that's the densest level of human experience, and it is therefore the hardest dimension in which to make a change. And I want to skip forward over here. You did not come here to climb the ladder of success, nor wear the mask of perfection that the Matrix tells you is the way to achieve success. Think of all the ladders you've been told you need to climb to live successfully. Be honest about all the masks you put on to hide your face, how you really felt, or what you knew were your true intentions. Now think of all the millions of compromises you had to make in order to keep climbing that ladder and putting on that show of success. Let that sink in. You didn't come here to climb ladders nor wear a mask of a false identity. You came here to dismantle all the ladders and strip away all the masks so we can stand on the ground together, look each other directly in the eyes, and tell each other the truth of the bottomless craving that we have allowed to bring humanity to the brink of destruction on Mother Earth. It's time to take back our power and work together to heal humanity for the sake of ourselves, our children's children, and all species of life on Earth that are counting on us to wake up and work together to change how we interact with ourselves and Mother Earth. And it starts with each of us choosing to be real.
So good. Thanks for sharing that. We've been listening to Kerri Hummingbird read from her book, Inner Medicine. Kerri, this is probably a good time to tell folks how to connect with you and learn more about your work.
Yeah, so my website is kerrihummingbird.com, Kerri, hummingbird.com. And you can find everything there. And I'm really excited because I also just launched a podcast called Medicine Woman, and it's on New Reality TV. I'm really excited about that. That has definitely been a medicine journey all on its own.
Yes, I can only imagine. As a fellow podcaster. As a founder of this inner medicine training, you've been working to bring a lot of the teachings from the Andes and Himalayas to the modern world, and you've got some retreats and programs in that regard. But what kind of wisdoms from these traditions do you feel like can be incorporated in today's life and work?
Yeah, it's really a different mindset. And when I traveled to Peru and I visited with the Q'ero people, that's Q''ERO, they're the rainbow poncho shamans that came down from the mountains in 2012 and were like, hey, we need to rethink how we're doing all this on Earth. And the thing I love about them is that they're also artists of the spirit. So just as my Toltec teacher through Dominica Ruiz teaches us tools for being the artists of our own dream of life, so these Q'ero people, they have this beautiful tradition of these woven cloths that are so beautiful and rainbow colored. And inside is your medicine. So you get to collect your medicine, your sacred objects, your stones, your crystals, whatever it is. that anchors in your new identity, the identity that you actually came to be, not the one that was prescribed for you in your book of fate, but the one that you co-create with spirit through your daily practice and through, like I said, opening sacred space, connecting. So we help people create that in the lineage with the lineage's support from the mountains of the Andes. And it creates this magical reality where what you value completely changes. What you wake up to is so much more love, so much more connection, and so much more meaning. And we're having a crisis of meaning right now in Western civilization because we've gotten to the edge of harvesting and taking everything. And that doesn't actually feel that good. And most of us have realized that doesn't feel that great. It's not about the numbers. It's not about the money. It's not about the stuff. That doesn't make us feel fulfilled. So we're wanting something that helps us to be connected to our soul, to this planet, to something with meaning. And that's what this path offered me, and that's what it can offer you. It's just it's a beautiful path, and they honor everybody's expression. So they have this mesa, but beyond that, it doesn't tell you what to do with it. It just says, that's you. You figure out what you want to put in it. We'll support you in it. What do you want to create? But they don't tell you how to do it or what you should do or who you should become. That's what I love about it. It's our choice.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
One of the other concepts, you talk about self-expression, but you're also an advocate for creating unity, transcending a lot of the old racist approaches and attitudes that we've harbored. How do you feel like these ideas help us create this more unified world that honors everyone's truth?
Yeah, so it's a big path. So when you step forward to become a mesa carrier in our tradition and inner medicine training, we support people to build one of these mesas with the bundles and all the stuff inside. And what happens is that you start getting aligned to your truth, to your true self, to your essence, to the one that came in here that's timeless, that came to be you. You get aligned with that. And most people feel that's very nebulous. But in our tradition, we help you to make it tangible. And when you get realigned there, it's like upside down world, you flips right side up. So you all of a sudden realize that the way I've been living is completely upside down. You start living right side up. And when you're living right side up, you look at things really differently. And you're willing to look at it and ask questions. Remember, I read the section about asking questions. You start to ask the question, am I participating in white supremacy structures? Am I participating in capitalism? And you ask these questions from a place of curiosity, not from condemnation. So the game changes. You're no longer trying to figure out who's to blame. You're more interested in how do we change this to make it right? How do we change this so that everybody is equal, everybody feels loved, everybody feels supported, everybody knows that it's the truth, right? Because actually we all are. There could be no other truth. We wouldn't be here if we weren't all needed. We switch into that mode, and the way that we approach it is more fun, actually, because you get to shift that stuff. And every time you successfully shift one of those patterns in your life, it's a huge celebration. It's, look, oh, I just changed generations of my ancestry being this way. And it's fun. And then you start to open up these new opportunities that help you to talk to anybody and feel a human connection, which, I mean, that connection heart to heart that's the juicy, yummy nectar of life. There's nothing more great than that.
For sure. And circling back to in the introduction, you described your own journey, though. It wasn't always easy, and your books describe some of those dark, low moments. But you've been talking about unlocking and making some shifts. Were there some pivotal moments along your path where you said, I could have gone left, I could have gone right, but I chose this, and it really unlocked some differences? What were some of those moments?
I think the major thing I decided was to follow the voice inside. So my inner voice told me, it's not working. You tried this psychotherapy thing for 2 decades. It's clear it's not working for you. So are you willing to change? Are you willing to try something new? And the answer was yes, I am. And it required me to sacrifice quite a bit, actually. I had to sacrifice some things I didn't really want to sacrifice. I had to sacrifice my marriage. I had to sacrifice the home that we had built together. There was a lot of sacrifice. And for the artists out there, I had to sacrifice the new art studio that we had just built for me.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch. That hurt.
Yes.
But on the other side of that sacrifice was a whole new journey that started in 2012. And I wouldn't trade it in for the world. Like, I literally, best decision I ever made. Nothing against my former spouse at all. But it was like, you get to a place and there's this invitation for something greater, and you can feel it. And that invitation for something greater requires you to sacrifice your comfort. It requires you to sacrifice the known. It often requires you, and pretty much every time, to sacrifice how you identify yourself, like your identity, who you think you are, and also the life story, the narrative that you weave about your life, and even how you tell your story, or even how you communicate with others about yourself. It'll require you to really shift every single last thing, but it'll do in little tiny pieces, little ways, shed that skin a little bit at a time in a way that you can handle it. That is what is leading you towards your book of destiny. That's what's leading you towards the thing that will light you up every day, the thing that gets you out of bed, the thing that makes you do this podcast. This gets you out of bed. You're excited. You're like, yes, I'm going to do this. And the world, in the meantime, the world that knew you before, for a while, they look at you like you've gone insane. Like you've completely gone off your rocker. You left a perfectly good marriage. You walked away from, you just got the art studio. Why would you do this? You're creating turbulence and chaos in everybody's life. Why would you do this? But on the other side, it takes a while for it to manifest. But on the other side, people start to go, oh, you couldn't be that person in that context. And sometimes the only way to become who you're meant to be is to trust and follow the steps, make those sacrifices, take the leap of faith, make those difficult decisions and changes, because that's what creates your inner medicine, who you're here to be today, is facing those fears, facing the loss, facing the rejection. For a while, I was even ostracized by a lot of my family members, and some of them still do. There are some changes that people don't recover from, they don't forgive you for. But as you follow your path, the daily experience of living as the person you're meant to be is heaven on earth. That is actually heaven on earth, I believe, is being who you were meant to be, doing what you were meant to do, and shining your light. There is no greater gift than that. And when you can do that, you help wake it up in other people.
Very inspirational. Kerri, thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Listeners, my guest has been Kerri Hummingbird. I just really enjoy your insights, your wisdom. And for people looking for this healing and growing and connecting that you've been describing, I know your book's going to be a great resource for them. I'll put all those links in the show notes. And the book is Inner Medicine, Becoming One with Mother Earth for the Survival of Humanity. A real heartfelt guide to grounding yourself in the earth, on the earth, and finding our path. Thanks again, Kerri.
Thank you.
And thank you, listeners. And we're going to continue our around the world journeys. And before we go, I definitely want to thank our sponsor, White Cloud Coffee Roasters. Don't forget you can enjoy a 10% discount off your specialty coffee order when you use the code CREATIVITY at checkout. Visit whitecloudcoffee.com to learn more and enjoy your next cup. So thanks for listening, and consider leaving us a review on your favorite app. It helps give us feedback and know where we're standing and know that you're liking the kind of creative conversations we're having. So you keep listening and we'll keep unlocking your world of creativity. I'm Mark Stinson, and we'll see you next time.